I believe that whether you're on the right or the left, politics should be left at the dinner table. That's where we talk to our kids about politics. And in this day and age, there's an influx of influence that's targeted at our youth. And I take issue with that because parents should be shaping their children's minds, and that should not be up to the school district or personnel within the school district that have an agenda.
All right, so we are joined today by Mr. William Joel Bryan VI of Bryan, Texas. We're talking to him today because he is running uncontested for place 6 at large for Bryan ISD for the Board of Trustees. So thank you so much for coming on podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about the very interesting name there. You know, we see a lot of Bryan around here. In Bryan, it makes a lot of sense, but are you the 6th, meaning that your lineage traced back to the guy that started this town?
It does. William Joel Bryan is my great-great-great-grandfather.
Wow.
The 6th, it comes from my family tree.
Okay.
So it's not a direct, my father is Travis, my grandfather was Travis. I'm the 6th based on just the organization of my family.
Got it. And as far as your background, I think I saw somewhere that you were obviously born in Bryan. Is that correct? And went to Bryan ISD schools, or?
I was born here. Stayed here through high school. Went to high school. Actually married my high school sweetheart.
Cool.
I started dating her in 7th grade,
Wow.
8th grade, and I went out to Texas A&M for a year and a half, and then transferred to University of Kentucky, where I got my degree.
Okay.
And you know, it's going back to being a Bryan from Bryan. I think that you know, it was always kind of, it wasn't a big topic of conversation in my family of our family history, and
right.
But once you leave this community, you realize how insignificant family name actually is.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
People outside of our community, it's kind of irrelevant. So it was a humbling experience.
Got it.
And, you know, but a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
yeah. So I lived in Dallas when I got married.
Okay.
And then my wife and I had our twins and moved them to the Woodlands. We wanted to come further south.
got it.
Not quite back to Bryan College Station yet. And then returned to this community in 2018.
Got it. Okay. Well, my obvious next question is going to be, why are you running for the school board, and have you been involved in politics before?
We raised our kids in the Woodlands, and they went to a fantastic elementary school.
Yeah.
And when we made the decision to return to Bryan, there was a choice to where to pursue our child's education.
Sure.
And Bryan ISD was obviously our first choice. And as soon as we immersed our kids into the school, their experience was fantastic. And
That's great.
In my opinion, better than the one that they received, the education they were receiving in the Woodlands.
Wow. That's quite an endorsement there.
But you know, when you have kids in the school system, you're involved, and have, you know, a front row seat to
Sure.
how the school district functions. And over time, you form opinions on things you feel that the school district is doing really well, and things that you'd like to have a hand in trying to change or evolve.
Okay.
And my wife has been acting president of the Bryan ISD Education Foundation, which
Great.
also brought a lot more information and relationships to our dinner table and conversation. Right. And you know, but I guess it's worth saying that I have not been involved in politics.
Okay.
I don't aspire to necessarily be a politician. I wanted to be involved in this community as it's dear to my heart. I have deep emotions about Bryan, Texas.
Right.
And I think as I returned in 18 and, it took some time to get family situated and the business situated. During that time period was seeking a place to be involved and volunteer my time. Right. And I know that aside from our local city government, the school district is instrumental and at the nucleus of the success of this community.
Right.
From a growth standpoint, from an economic standpoint, from a quality of life standpoint, and from just preparing our youth.
Right.
And to me, that was an obvious choice. My grandfather served on the school board for 20 years. And he's also involved in some of the nonprofits that I'm involved in. I'm on the board at Salvation Army, on the board at Boys and Girls Club. And, I don't necessarily say that I came here to follow in his footsteps. I don't think that was my motivation, but I've found that returning to this community and being a part of it, I've started to see things through his perspective, and I understand why he was involved in the organizations and served on the school board. It makes sense because those are at the heart of some of the biggest needs in our community.
Habitat for Humanity's Faith in Action Pumpkin Patch is open the entire month of October, Sunday through Friday, 12 noon to 8 p.m., and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. The address is 2301 East 29th Street in Bryan. We've got plenty of fall photo opportunities, lots of unique pumpkins, and more, so we hope to see you there.
You mentioned one of the important things related to the quality of schools and that kind of thing is growth. Can you go into that a little bit more as to what your thoughts are on any relationship between school and the growth and success of a community?
Well, I was on the outside looking in for a number of years. And what comes out of this community versus living here is different. You get different information, and a lot of times you only get negative information because that's what spreads. Positivity doesn't spread as quickly as negativity. Sure. But that's, as parents, whether they're in our community and have grown up here, or as we're experiencing recently an influx of growth from outside of our community. Right. And, every parent, the first thing they're going to do is evaluate schools. And they're going to choose and evaluate Bryan ISD based on the success of our school district and the performance, both academically, athletically. And so when we talk about growth, that's up there. It's one of the top choices. I mean, I think nice roads are important, but any parent's going to choose schools first.
Well, and let's talk about the I guess you could call it rankings or ratings. I was on the Texas Tribune website where they have a whole statewide list of rankings where you can compare state level and then particular districts. And even within that, even particular schools. And one of the things I noticed that I brought up with some other candidates is that to put it nicely, we're not at the top, but we're not at the bottom. We're kind of in the middle. And do you have any ideas as far as ways that this could be improved? Because if you're a part of Bryan, you believe in Bryan, you probably believe that we need to have scores that are best of the best if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, our Bryan ISD is comprised of kids from all backgrounds.
Sure.
And it's not a one shoe size fits all environment. As compared to the previous community that I came from. And that's part of the reason why we moved back, because the diversity of the kids that my boys go to school with was very important to me. But with that comes, the need to provide a pathway for every kid through our school district. And I think we're doing some great things for the kids in our community. My kids are in the International Baccalaureate program at the high school, which is a fantastic program.
Right.
My son's in Odyssey at SFA, which is another fantastic STEM driven program. But they're in advanced academics, and that's one path.
Right.
But there's a number of paths that go through our school district, and that's something that I want to make sure, and part of serving on this board is to ensure that every family, every parent, no matter where their kid resides on that academic scale, that they have a positive path for growth academically and performance. And there's not one shoe size that fits all. You have to focus on every student and ensure that they have an enjoyable and successful academic experience here.
Yeah. And the comment that you made on diversity, I think, is really interesting because Bryan, as it grows, as it develops, one of the things you see around the country is you begin to, unfortunately, push out certain groups of people to where you can end up having a much more homogenous school district and that kind of thing. How important do you think it is, if the diversity factor is really important for why y'all moved back in the schools, how important is it to figure out ways to where people can continue living in the school district?
I mean, personally, I'm biased because I love Bryan for being diverse. I think that's one of the coolest qualities of this community. Yeah. And so to me, I don't want it to be homogenous. And I think that my kids are going to be better kids. They're going to be better adults for having gone through that experience. So to combat it is, I don't necessarily look at that as in that perspective. I look at it as to embrace it and to find ways to reach our, one of the biggest things that I think our school district needs is parent involvement and community involvement. And what does that look like? I mean, is it finding ways to reach the Hispanic community who aren't native English speakers so that they can become more involved in their students' life and not, take a step back because of the fear of a language barrier?
Yeah. Okay. And, just to kind of go into it a little bit more, the reason that I brought up that last question is because something that, we're a part of Habitat for Humanity, and one of the things that we've noticed over the last few years is as prices for homes get higher and higher, is it's getting harder and harder for organizations that build affordable housing to build it in either city. And so it's a concern of ours, that to be able to continue building products that are affordable and, sustainable in the long run. So that's a little more information on why I brought that up.
Sure.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about is specific ideas. Going back to your race for Bryan ISD, you are unopposed, however you say that. And so you don't have anybody running against you, which is probably pretty awesome. But I mean, if I was doing it, I think that would be great. But I imagine you came into this still with some specific ideas of why you would take on this extra job, essentially. Can you go into that?
Sure. I think that one of the ones that jumped out at me, I guess it was a year ago, was we experienced a breakdown in the relationship between the city and the school district. I don't. I know a lot of the people that are involved in our city government, and
Sure.
I know a lot of people at the school district. So, from my perspective, I was kind of on the outside looking in at the time, and it was, I understand that. I understand how politics go, but I also was discouraged by that situation, because if the school district and the city are not in unison
Right.
and marching to the same drum, then we've got a problem locally.
Right.
And so if I can help facilitate, and I know that there's been some advancements in repairing some of that the relationship, but if I can be a part of helping that as a solution, that's certainly one thing. Another thing is that there's a lot of Bryan ISD has a large amount of funding to work with, and I know that our teachers are a hot commodity these days,
Right.
and it's difficult to retain them. Attracting and retaining talent is critical.
Yeah.
And as we look at funding, are we being good stewards of that funding, and where are opportunities to create more competitive wages and incentives for our teachers? I think that's critical for the success of our school district.
Yeah.
Board transparency is one thing that is important to me. I don't have a hidden agenda other than just wanting to serve
Sure.
for the best interests of our community.
Okay.
And I'd want our families and our community to know how I'm voting and what we're discussing and what the direction is for the school district. And if that's, to me, that should be at the forefront of what we're doing. And that's why we're elected.
Right.
And that's what our families want to know.
Yeah.
I'm a conservative. I believe in Jesus Christ. That does not influence how I feel about politics in schools. I believe that whether you're on the right or the left, politics should be left at the dinner table. That's where we talk to our kids about politics. And in this day and age, there's an influx of influence that's targeted at our youth. And I take issue with that, because parents should be shaping their children's minds, and that should not be up to the school district or personnel within the school district that have an agenda.
Okay.
I think it's important to leave that out.
Got it.
I could keep going unless you have another question.
You're welcome to keep going. No, I do at some point, if we have enough time, I did want to go back to the idea of relations with the city, school board relations, and how all that works out. But no, keep going if you got more.
We have it has some relation to the city, but our career CTE program, we have an opportunity here as, I call it a marketing and advertising company here. We do some work with the BVEDC, and we've done some work with the city as they work to attract talent to our community. These are large corporations, new industry that bring new jobs to this community. And there's been some wonderful things happening within our CTE program, but we have an opportunity to look at in our relationship with the city and the people that are instrumental in bringing these corporations to our community.
Right.
How can we use our CTE program to prepare our local youth for their careers locally? And I know there's a lot of kids that are coming out of Bryan ISD that would love nothing more than to find a career in our community. And if we can find ways to utilize that program and continue to utilize that program to prepare them for those opportunities, I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and what's interesting about what you were just talking about is that there are a lot of other communities I've heard of, or not communities, but ISDs throughout Texas that are doing really interesting programs like that. And I assume as you move forward here and you're likely, going to be on the school board, that you're going to look at what other communities have done, right? When it comes to the CTE, that kind of thing.
Certainly. And it's, there's so much I have to learn. I'm be totally upfront in that I have a lot to learn about the operations and inner workings of our school district. What's currently happening at the CTE program, it's diverse. There's a lot of unique programs over there, and what to me is healthy. It's doing what it was intended to do.
Right.
But can we look at some of those new opportunities that are coming into our community and identify specific programs that align with some of the job opportunities there?
Okay.
That's an opportunity that would only benefit our kids.
Yeah. So what do you think going forward? You mentioned about the importance of the relations between the ISD and the city of Bryan and other governmental entities, but specifically the city of Bryan. Are we going to see another one of those, in the near term, in your opinion, or do you think most everybody on the board, on the city, is working towards better relations? I mean, I don't know if you can even speak to that, but I'm hoping the latter.
Right. Now, as am I. Those situations are unpredictable, and you don't really know what comes up.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is can often be ego driven, and that depends on who's involved and the decision making process. But as I look at relationships with the city, between the city and the school district, it's got to be a collaboration.
Right.
And as long as there's an open dialogue and reoccurring meetings and check-ins about some of the goals of the school district or goals of the city, as a member of the school board, obviously my interest and decision-making process has to lie in favor of what's in the best interest of the school district.
Right.
But at the same time, I think there's resources and there's things that we can do to work together to make sure that relationship remains healthy and is a collaboration as opposed to a give and take type situation. What I guess collaboration is give and take, but less on the take, more on the let's work together.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that you want to go over real quick, or how can citizens get in touch with you if they would like to talk to you?
I'm on Facebook. If anybody goes and looks at my Facebook page, they'll probably realize that I'm not a huge personal social media user.
Same with me.
But I do check it, and I check in. My email is wmjbryan@gmail.com. That's my personal email. I may burn it down after this interview. At some point, I hope to have a school district email, which will probably serve as my means of communication moving forward.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm excited about the opportunity. I know there's a lot to learn. I'm eager to continue serving, and my role is to identify needs within a district that benefit our families.
Okay.
And see what I can do about being part of a solution to those needs.
That's awesome. Well, it's been good to talk to you today. Again, this is William Joel Bryan VI, running for place 6 at large for the BISD board. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.